At this very moment, a significant fraction of all the human beings on Earth are looking at a screen filled with something made by a single company. A friend's photo, a relative's message, a stranger's video, an argument in a comment thread. Across four of the most used apps in the world, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger, billions of people pour hours of their attention every single day into services built and controlled by one firm. This is a series about the companies that run the world, and today it is Meta. To understand Meta's power, you have to see that it does not sell a product in the ordinary sense. What it truly owns is something more abstract and more valuable: the social graph, the vast invisible map of who knows whom. It is the connective tissue of a huge portion of human relationships online, the place where people go not to find information but to find each other. And that turns out to be one of the most powerful positions anyone has ever held. It began, famously, in a college dorm in 2004 as a simple network for students. But Facebook grew with astonishing speed, spreading from campuses to the entire world, until it connected well over a third of all the people alive. Few products in the history of the species have ever been adopted by so many human beings, so quickly, or woven themselves so deeply into the fabric of daily life. And when new rivals emerged that might have threatened it, the company followed a ruthless and brilliant strategy. It bought them. It acquired Instagram, the rising force in photos, and later WhatsApp, the messaging app taking over much of the world. Rather than risk being displaced by the next big thing, Meta simply absorbed the next big thing, a pattern that would eventually draw the intense scrutiny of regulators. The result is a moat woven from human relationships themselves. You are on these apps, most likely, for one unavoidable reason: because everyone you know is already there. To leave is not simply to switch a product, it is to risk cutting yourself off from your friends, your family, your communities, your whole social world. That kind of lock-in, built from other people, is extraordinarily difficult for any competitor to break. Now, here is the part many people still do not fully register: the same truth that sat beneath the search giant. Meta's apps are free, and that is precisely the point, because you are not the customer. Meta is, at its core, one of the largest advertising businesses on earth. It gives you dazzling tools to connect, and in exchange, it harvests your attention and your data and sells access to you with remarkable precision to advertisers. That precision is the engine of the fortune. Because it watches what you like, share, pause on, and linger over, Meta can build an astonishingly detailed portrait of who you are, and then let advertisers target you accordingly. Multiply that across billions of people, and you have an advertising machine generating a river of revenue, quietly funded by the endless, minute-by-minute donation of human attention. The scale of that attention is almost incomprehensible. Across its family of apps, Meta reaches something on the order of several billion people every single day, a large share of everyone on the planet who is online at all. No church, no empire, no state in history has ever held the daily, direct attention of so many human beings at once. It is a concentration of collective focus without any real precedent. But sustaining that attention requires a particular and troubling kind of machine. The feeds are governed by algorithms tuned, above all, to maximize engagement, to keep you scrolling, watching, and reacting for as long as possible. What holds attention, it turns out, is often what provokes, outrages, or unsettles. And so the system, in relentlessly optimizing for time spent, can end up amplifying exactly the content most likely to inflame, whether or not that is good for anyone. For a long time, this position looked unassailable, but a genuine rival finally arrived, from an unexpected direction. TikTok, owned by the Chinese company ByteDance, cracked the attention game in a new way, with an algorithm so good at guessing what would hold you that it captured the young in enormous numbers. Alongside challengers like Snap and YouTube, it posed the first real threat in years to Meta's grip on the world's eyes. Partly in response, and partly out of grand ambition, the company made a spectacular bet. It renamed itself from Facebook to Meta and poured tens of billions of dollars into building what it called the metaverse, a vision of immersive virtual worlds it hoped would become the next great computing platform. It was, in essence, an enormously expensive attempt to own the future outright, so that it would never again be a mere guest on someone else's device. And then there are the scars, which are deep and which matter. Meta has sat at the center of some of the gravest controversies of the digital age, the harvesting and misuse of personal data on a vast scale, and its role as a conduit for misinformation and, in some places, even for incitement to real world violence. The most damning charge, though, is the most intimate one. There is evidence that the company understood its own products could damage the mental health of teenagers, especially young girls, and was slow to act on what it knew. This is power that has, at times, done real and documented harm to the very people it depends on. So we come to the question this series always asks, of what would truly break if Meta vanished? And the answer is subtle but serious. People would migrate elsewhere, in time. But for billions, the everyday fabric of staying in touch would tear, especially where WhatsApp has quietly become essential infrastructure, the default way whole nations message, call, and even run small businesses. The connective tissue would not vanish, but it would badly, painfully fray. Which brings us to the uncomfortable question, in perhaps its most intimate form of all. Is it wise or safe for the primary way that billions of human beings connect with one another to be owned by a single private company and deliberately tuned to maximize not their well-being but their engagement? The joy and connection these tools provide are genuine, but so is the disquiet of having the social fabric itself run as an advertising business. To be fair, and it truly must be said, the good here is real and vast. These apps have reunited lost families, sustained friendships across oceans, given tiny businesses a global storefront, and let isolated people find their communities. WhatsApp alone has given the world something close to free, universal messaging. For all the harm, Meta has also connected humanity in ways that were, not long ago, simply impossible. And that is the deeper lesson of this particular giant. The rarest and most valuable territory of the modern age turned out to be human attention itself, and the web of relationships through which it flows. Meta understood, earlier and more completely than almost anyone, that whoever owns the social graph, the map of how people connect, owns a share of the most intimate and influential space in modern life. So the next time you open one of these apps, almost without deciding to, and feel that familiar pull to keep scrolling just a little longer, remember what is really happening. You are inside a machine, built by one company, and finally engineered to hold your attention, because your attention, multiplied across billions of others just like you, is quite simply one of the most valuable things in the entire world.